Hello and welcome to my review of the Necrons Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. One of these models will set you back £68. It's worth noting that it's only one sprue, and if my calculations are correct, that pretty much means it's the most expensive plastic sprue in existence for Games Workshop. We've seen some sprues such as Horticulus Slimux being £32 for one. We've seen two sprue Teclis at £52.50 per sprue, but now we're getting this one sprue for £68. What a sprue it is though, what a lovely model. Let's not focus on the price for this review because I think this model is one of the best releases for Necrons in 9th edition. It's my favourite Necron model out of all these releases. The Silent King is a close second, but I built the Void Dragon live in one of the live streams on this channel and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a joy to put together. I didn't think that I would have so much fun with it. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a rock hard 10, with the Silent King falling at probably a 6 or a 7. Maybe because the Silent King had lots of parts that I didn't feel needed to be there anyway, and lots of detail that you couldn't get at. And this model just works. It's so balanced. You've got everything from the base, which isn't too much in your face. You've got the tail, you've got the body area with things going on, and the synergy between the base and the arcs of lightning to the shard of the Catan. And then you've got the incredible spear and the beautiful wings embossed with the blackstone. I mean, it's just a fantastic miniature. One of the best, if not the best, all year. I'm yet to build the Necron monolith, and I will do that in this Warhammer Wednesdays live stream. And that box is thick. It's roughly about 4 times the thickness of the Void Dragon box. And if we have a look at the reverse, you can see that there are a number of heads. There you go. This is the standard one, this is the dual one. I've seen plenty of excellent paint schemes for this dual, and also this one, which looks a little bit like a question mark, I guess. But yeah, that's my favourite out of all three, but of course your mileage may vary. Absolutely stunning model. Should it be in a box? Yeah, it should be in a box, I think. It deserves to be in a box. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, it's the best looking out of all of the Catan shards. The Deceiver is alright, the Nightbringer is lovely, but I would prefer an update and something a bit bigger. And the Transcendent Catan is just tiny, really. And you've got that paywall of the £95 to get that obelisk. Put it in the comment if you'd like me to cover all of the Catans, and if you'd like me to get hold of a Tesseract Vault or Obelisk, please like this video, subscribe and leave a comment, because that will send a message to me that you enjoy this content and you want to see me cover all of those other models. First things first, let's look at the detail on this miniature. There's an absolute magnitude of detail on this. I'll try and zoom in and get you some close-ups. Let's start off with the body. Wow, what a body. Forget a six-pack. This Catan has got all kinds of muscles on muscles going on. It's got this face that isn't a face, it's just like a void. Void of the Void Dragon, yeah. And then look at that spear. It's a huge spear. Some scientists have even declared the outlandish statement that the spear is taller than a Primaris Space Marine. We'll put that theory to the test in a moment. But look at the lovely tail, the curvature of that, the ribbedness of it. I mean, it's just beautiful. Look at everything that's going on with that base as well. All of these cracked pieces of blackstone just being ripped apart. You've even got scarabs holding on for dear life, or going on a bit of a journey. You've got scarabs everywhere on this. Maybe this is the model. This is the Necron model that has the highest number of little scarabs. And you know what I might do? I might just add 2 more. There we go. But let's have a look at this loss of signal, this pixelation that's happening as its body is struggling to either contain the energies within or construct itself or deconstruct itself. It's in a state of constant flux. Is it a spider? There's something on my back. There's this little canoptek type creature thing that's lodged itself on there that, you know, is holding these blades at its neck and ready to strike if the Shard of the Void Dragon misbehaves. The wings are fantastic. Again, they could have just had them as normal wings, but they've chosen to implement arcs of lightning flashing between each one, and they're all different. The arcs of lightning are different to the lightning on the other side. They could have just mirrored the exact lightning, but they didn't. So that's going to be fantastic when you get to paint it. Speaking of painting, yes, this is going to be a test to paint. I'm still not sure what colour scheme to go for. I kind of want to do it in the boring metallic colours that they've gone for. For me, I don't think that the brass will work other than on the wings and possibly the tail. But the body itself, I might just go for a nice steel colour and put these stones in the blue black stone colour that I've been working on. Yeah, an absolute modeller's dream, a painter's dream. It's not a bigger challenge as you might think, so please don't get intimidated. The instruction guide is fantastic. You work on part of the body first of all, then you build up the base, and eventually you're at a point where you connect the Void Dragon, you connect the Catan to the tail, and also 4 different contact points of this base to give the impression that it's kind of hovering up. Absolutely fantastic. The progress Games Workshop have made in miniature making, and to get a miniature like this is just... We saw glimpses of this 3 years ago with Mortarion and Archaon, and now we're at the stage where we're blessed with miniatures as incredible as this, that shouldn't really be around in Games Workshop. You'd probably see something like this from Forge World, and the prices do reflect that nowadays. You know, £68, it's a huge amount of money. That's the look at all the detail of the Void Dragon. Just going to draw your attention to the spare parts, and here they are, just the 2 spare parts. This full head for the Catan, so that just slots onto the void of the neck. Lovely head. You could put that on a scenery piece or something. That would look great on the wall. And then this different attachment that would go in that void, kind of like a question mark, I guess. So they're the only 2 spare parts that you get. You could possibly use them in other things. So that's the spare parts. Let's move on to the size comparisons then. The first size comparison, of course, I need to make is with the Silent King himself. I haven't finished him, he's a work in progress, so please do be gentle with me. Here he is. I've been painting him in the live streams. The Void Dragon, there was a lot of discussion in the Discord about which model would be taller. It's a close one. It's only just that the Silent King is a little bit taller, and even then the Void Dragon's tips are actually taller than these pieces here, but not this back pillar. He is taller than the Silent King, you know, face to face. His face goes at the top of the crown. But yeah, from a model point of view, this is it. Silent King is what, £95, and the Void Dragon is 68. That's quite a big leap in price. However, the Silent King will take you longer to build, and possibly longer to paint as well. But they're the 2 comparisons. I can't unfortunately make the comparison with the Necron monolith because I haven't built that yet, but I can compare it to a Canoptek Doomstalker right here. Very tall War of the Worlds-esque model. It's a bit taller than the Doomstalker, and a Convergence of Dominion, which is similar height to the Doomstalker. They are the sort of tallest models in the Necron Force, not including the monolith. The monolith would be similar kind of height to these. So that's where it stands. If you've got the Scorpek Lord from the Indomitus box set, and you were after any of these models and you didn't quite have them yet, then that's where the Void Dragon sits, next to your Scorpic Lord that you've got in the set, or even the Canoptek Reanimator, which is, yeah, taller, isn't it? So that's where it stands. It's a fair bit taller than your Canoptek Reanimator. Hopefully that size comparison has helped. Now, I don't own the other Catan models, so there won't be any comparisons with those in this review. However, I'd like to do a comparison with an Age of Sigmar model for Lumineth Realm Lords called Alarith. And this model is exactly the same price, still £68. And there you go. That's debatable which model has the detail, because what the Void Dragon detail is lacking on the model itself, which isn't, it is what it is. I don't think you can put any more detail on that. It makes up in its base, which of course Alarith does not have. Clearly this is a big mountain cow type god model, whereas the Void Dragon is just, yeah, is so much cooler in my opinion. But that gives you an idea of, you know, the prices that we're at right now. The final size comparison that I'd like to make is just with some Imperial models. I always do these size comparisons. So we've got a normal Space Marine on the left, Slime Arbo in the middle, and a Primaris on the right. So if you're against this thing and you've got some Space Marines, it's going to tower above most of your forces. So if you're bringing Space Marines and your opponent is bringing Necrons and one of these Void Dragons, at least you know that the Void Dragon is going to tower above most of your Space Marine models. The Redemptor Dreadnought, possibly even a Imperial Knight as well. It's going to be a little bit taller. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. You'll find it in your brand new 2020 Necrons Codex. In the Elite section, it will cost you 18 power points or 350 points in match play. It's the same price as the other two Catan shards, the Deceiver and the Nightbringer. They're all the same points cost. Its profile reads, it's a movement of 8 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill are both 2+, strength 6, toughness 7, 9 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 10 and a save of 3+. That means it's got exactly the same stat line as the Catan Shard of the Deceiver, but it's lacking in strength, believe it or not, compared to the Nightbringer. And also has 1 less attack, but a better save. It's got the best save of any of the Catans. The Catan Shard of the Void Dragon is equipped with Spear of the Void Dragon, Canoptek Tail Blades. Your army can only include 1 Catan Shard of the Void Dragon model. Now, what does this Spear of the Void Dragon do? Well, it's got 2 profiles. It's got a shooting stat line and a melee stat line. So the shooting gives it a range of 12 inch, heavy 1, strength 9, AP -4 and a damage of D6. It doesn't stop there though. It's got this very controversial ability. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, draw a straight line between the closest point of this model's base or hull and that of the closest model in the target unit. Make 1 wound roll against the target unit and each other unit this line passes over. Each time an attack made with this weapon is allocated to a vehicle model, that attack has a damage characteristic of D3 + 3. That's very nice. You can have up to 9 damage with that. The melee profile of this weapon is the strength of the user +3, so that's strength 9, AP -4 and damage D6. So it's the same as the shooting attack. The ability is slightly different though, and the ability also borrows the latter sentence. Each time an attack made with this weapon is allocated to a vehicle model, that attack has a damage characteristic of D3 + 3. The Canoptek Tail Blades, what do they do? Well, it's strength of the user, which would be 6, AP is -2 and damage 1. Each time the bearer fights, it makes D6 additional attacks with this weapon. That's nice, although I would have liked to have seen either a better AP or some kind of impale ability. And speaking of abilities, it has Living Metal and then Necrodermis. This model has a 4+ invulnerable save. In addition, this model cannot lose more than 3 wounds in the same phase. Any wounds that would be lost after that point are not lost. So it's got exactly the same ability as the other 3 Catans, and the same as Ghazghkull for that matter, in that the maximum number of wounds it can lose is only 3. Enslaved Star God. This model can never have a relic or a warlord trait. In addition, enemy models can ignore the lookouts rule when selecting this model as a target or of a ranged attack. Reality unravels. When this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On a 4+, it explodes, and each unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. That's quite nice, so worth you getting it into combat. Matter absorption. At the end of each phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy vehicle model destroyed as a result of an attack made by this model, or a Catan power used by this model. That phase. For each 2+, this model regains 1 lost wound, to a maximum of 3 regained wounds per phase. Very nice. So 2+ is regaining the lost wounds, and that will help it out because it's got 9 wounds. Powers of the Catan. This model knows the Voltaic Storm Catan power and 1 other Catan power from the powers of the Catan. At the end of your movement phase, if this model did not advance or fall back that phase, it can use 2 of the Catan powers it knows. It cannot use the same Catan power more than once per turn. We'll go through the powers of the Catan very shortly after I just outline the key words, which are Necrons, Monster, Character, Fly, Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. So these powers of the Catan then. We'll kick off with the one that it actually knows, which is the Voltaic Storm, and that is a unique Catan power only available to the Shard of the Void Dragon. You select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to this Catan Shard, in brackets an enemy character unit with a wounds characteristic of 9 or less cannot be selected for this power while it is within 3 inches of another enemy unit, unless that character unit is the closest visible enemy unit. Okay, it needs to have 10 or more. Roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. It suffers d6 mortal wounds instead if it has a vehicle keyword, and until the start of your next turn, if that unit is a vehicle whose characteristics change as it loses wounds, then it halves the number of wounds it has remaining when determining what characteristics to use. That is extremely debilitating. Go up against armies that have vehicles, whether it's Tau, whether it's Astra Militarum, whether it's Space Marines. You want to be using this Void Dragon against vehicle-heavy armies, big time. The other powers of the Catan though, again, you can pick these or you can roll a d6 for them. There's 6 of them. So a bit like Litanies of Hate or Psychic Powers or Prayers. Number 1, Antimatter Meteor. Roll 1d6, adding 1 to the roll if this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault. On a 3 to 5, the closest enemy unit that is within 24 inches of and visible to this Catan Shard suffers 3 mortal wounds. On a 6+, that enemy unit suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Amazing. Times Arrow. Select 1 unit within 18 inches of and visible to this Catan Shard. Roll 1d6, adding 1 to the roll if this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault. If the total equals or exceeds the wounds characteristic of any models in that enemy unit, your opponent selects one of those models to be destroyed. Wow. Sky of Falling Stars. Select up to 3 enemy units within 24 inches of this Catan Shard. For each of those units, roll 1d6. On a 1 to 5, if the dice result is less than the number of models in that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault, that unit suffers 3 mortal wounds from this power instead of d3. Cosmic Fire. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 9 inches of this Catan Shard. On a 4+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault, unit suffered 3 mortal wounds from this power instead of d3. Seismic Assault. Select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to this Catan Shard. Roll 1d6 for each model in that unit, adding 1 to the roll if this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault. For each 6+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 10 mortal wounds. And finally, Transdimensional Thunderbolt. Select 1 enemy unit within 24 inches of and visible to this Catan Shard. Again, enemy character unit with wounds characteristic of 9 or less cannot be selected while it is within 3 inches of another enemy unit, unless the character is the closest visible enemy unit. Roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Then roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the selected unit. On a 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If this Catan Shard is a Tesseract Vault, roll for other enemy unit within 6 inches of the selected unit instead of 3 inches. That's incredible. I mean, the Tesseract Vault really does come into its own and buffs every single one of these powers of the Catan. So if you can get a Tesseract Vault, do it because it adds an extra 1. I really like the Voltaic Storm. It works similar to the Transdimensional Thunderbolt, but wrecks vehicles on top of that Spear of the Void Dragon weapon too. I think it's an incredible model. Yes, it's a bit weak in terms of its save only being 3+, but it does have the best save out of all of the 4 Catan shards, and it has a 4+ invulnerable save. The weapon skill and ballistic skill are incredible. Its movement speed is decent. It's 8 inches. It's got a decent number of attacks, a nice number of wounds. The toughness is great. What you're getting with the other 3 though, why you would pick them, is the Deceiver. It plays about with the enemy forces, but it's not that amazing in close combat, only has the Golden Fists. The Shard of the Nightbringer does have the Scythe of the Nightbringer, which is a whopping strength 14, and does d6 damage, and also invulnerable saves cannot be made against it, and it can drain life, but it's very specific in its melee ability, whereas the Void Dragon has the shooting attack, it has a decent melee attacks, can repair its lost wounds, and of course has the unique power of the Catan, much like the other 2 do as well. Whereas the Transcendent has the fractured personality, but otherwise is quite weak in terms of the strength of its 5 attacks. However, that Transcendent Catan definitely buffed by having a Tesseract Vault. And there you go, that's my exhaustive review of the Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. It's my favourite out of all 4 of them. I do like the Nightbringer though, and I wish that they would bring out a better model, newer model, bigger, beefier, more detail, incredible scenic base, things like that. As I said before, if you like to see me get all of the other Catans, please do like the video and leave a comment as always. What do you guys think of this Shard of the Void Dragon? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. I think it's the best new release for Necrons this time around. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Silent King protects.